Hey guys, Cynic UK here today, and today we have some sad news. We just got told on Twitter that New World will be delayed until September 28th. And I want to just kind of talk about this because I think that this is a good move from Amazon. Obviously, it's not the one that everyone wanted to hear, but I just want to kind of talk about things that they can use this time for and things that I would like to see them add going forward from the time from now until the 28th, because a realistic situation is the time that they have. If they stuck to their original release date, they wouldn't be able to achieve a good final product. Like, I'm not saying that New World is bad by any means. I've played, God knows, like 100 odd hours during the little beta that we had, but I do think that New World, if released at its current state, would be flawed and would be a 2-week type deal, and everyone would kind of move on from that. So things that I would like them to obviously solve is obviously the bugs straight off the bat. Like, bugs were a huge thing. There are a few missions that I had during my story mode, when I did do the story mode, that did hinder my like progression. Like, I had some missions where some of the things were disappearing. There was no waypoints or no visual indicators as to what I should be collecting, apart from a small circle whenever I found it. As for example, one of the faction missions at level 35, it tells you to go collect some soil. You go to the spot, you see one blue beam of light. As soon as you see that beam of light, everything else disappeared. So obviously that is hindering my progression, as well as the dungeon missions I had. The depth, for example, I ran that dungeon 5 times trying to complete my missions for a story, and guess what? I was able to complete it 0 times because of either a bug or the boss breaking or a minion getting stuck in the wall. I don't know, there's all sorts of things that were causing a lot of issues. While we're talking about expeditions, I also think they need to fix the exploits with expeditions, as well as the exploit with scoreboard, the goal trading, and also the town board exploit as well. There are a few exploits that kind of would break the game / break the economy of New World, which I think should be a high priority to fix, especially moving on to their new launch date. So that's bugs out the way. Obviously, they might be adding new items. I've heard a lot of talk and seen a lot of talk about them adding new items, weapons, new dungeons, new dungeon mutations, lots of weird information that data miners have found. Again, nothing is confirmed. This is all just from data miners. Healing changes. I want to see healing being changed, as well as tanks being changed. I feel like in wars, especially, wars right now feel very, very tank heavy and healer heavy. I feel like there needs to be either a healing nerf or a tank nerf, or them adding some kind of anti-heal mechanic where, say for example, Firestaff applies a like a burn of some sort where you get reduced healing for X amount of time, or maybe some of the weapons have like bleed. If they have a bleed on you, you get less healing for X amount of time, etc., etc. Or just ultimately nerfing the healing in general, because it did feel like it was very, very poor like fights, in my opinion, just due to the fact that healing was so obnoxious and tanks were so tanky. Because like at one point when I was like max constitution at level like 40, I had like 15k HP, and I was just able to just tank like 8 or 9 people at one point. So I think that is a mechanic that they could also enter the game. Town boards, they obviously need to be nerfed, and obviously again the exploit needs to be fixed for that as well. Optimization is a huge one, the servers and also the FPS. Like, I'm running a 3090 with an i9 10900X, and I stayed at 60 FPS locked the whole beta, and I was struggling at some points to get 40 FPS in towns and in wars. If I turned off all the nameplates, I was getting around 40 FPS, but then again, if I was playing healer or another role, I wouldn't know who needs healing and when they needed it, for example. So I think obviously optimization is a huge one that they need to work on. Combat changes. I feel like the combat is very... I don't know, it just feels kind of not great. Like, you just sit there and wail on someone, nothing happens, you just sit there spam, 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 spam. Like, there needs to be stagger on something. Like, obviously when you use like the spear or any CC ability, there is some sort of stagger, but I feel like maybe heavy attacks applying stagger as well. would be some sort of swing in the right direction, because I don't think you want to add stagger back because of all the hatchet spam that was happening beforehand, but I think they need to add some sort of staggering on heavy attacks, in my opinion. Again, I don't know exactly how else they could necessarily fix the combat, but the combat from a melee perspective kind of just felt like stand there and hold mouse 1, and yeah, that was about it. Obviously, if you guys have any other ideas, obviously leave them in the comments and we can have a discussion about it, or even join my Discord and we can have a discussion about it. XP changes, specifically around story mode. So I was playing with a few people that legit didn't bother even getting the Azov staff. A lot of people just like spammed either the town board or just spammed elite areas, which I guess is a way of them playing. But I feel like there needs to be a little bit more incentive in doing the story like the base story mode. I feel like the XP is very lackluster and the missions are very lackluster. Like, for example, there was one in Everfall where I had to go find these 3 towers, 3 temples, and then I go back to Everfall. I have to go find another 3 temples, and then I go back to Everfall, and then I have to go find another 3 towers. And that to me is very, very, very annoying to deal with. I would much rather it be like, go to these 3 towers, and then you get like a side pop-up that says like, oh, we didn't gather enough information off these 3 towers, go to these 3 towers. Like, some way of extending that quest rather than going back, forth, doing the exact same thing in the exact same area. I would much rather that sort of dialogue where something pops up after you've completed the first point, so that you can stay in the area and you can go to the next point. Again, obviously that's the best case scenario I can think of for fixing those specific situations. Server issues, again, obviously that was a huge issue to do with optimization as well, so that's obviously that. And travel. I feel like there's a lot of talk about mounts, and I feel like if you add mounts in New World, I think you have to remove fast travel. I don't think you can have them both coexisting, because otherwise you would travel around the map too fast. I feel like mounts would be very hard to balance, but again, maybe they could add some form of movement potion, or maybe some, for example, you could get like light armor, right, that has like movement speed buffs out of combat on the boots, or something along those lines, like a perk. I don't know, something, or amulets that give you out of combat movement speed. Something that could speed up the process of running from point A to point B without adding like mounts or potions or just, I don't know. The fast traveling to me is kind of meh. I don't think it really suits New World, to be honest. But again, I guess it's up for debate, and depending on who you ask and who you talk to about like the fast travel and stuff like that. But honestly, that's all I really have on the top of my head. I feel like crafting needs XP changes as well. I feel like you get a very small amount of crafting, but again, that obviously probably is due to the fact that you craft so much as a crafter that you do get lots of XP, and I guess they don't want it to be a just like you can craft to 60 sort of thing, which I guess makes sense. But it sucks that the game is delayed, but I think at the end of the day, I think it was necessary, and I think everybody, when they think about the game, they want what's best for the game. They don't want the game to come out, get really invested in the game, and it dies within 2 weeks because X mechanic is broken, or they don't have enough depth in this mechanic, or this thing is broken, that thing is broken, I can't progress because of this thing, you know. And also the exploits did kind of ruin the experience, because you had literally most wars were dominated by level 60s at like 3 or 4 days in, because people were just exploiting with the town board, and obviously exploiting with gold, which was controlling territories at the start, which was kind of disgusting. And it kind of did ruin that like experience for me at the start, especially as a company that tried to do it legitly, especially in wars when we were all like level 40, when we were like hard grinding the game, and then you had like level 6, like full level 60 team just destroying, which was obviously not a great experience. But yeah, that's enough of me rambling. I just wanted to give my thoughts on the delay and things that I would like to see, but hopefully you have the same ideas or any other ideas that you want to talk about. Either join my Discord or leave in the comments, we can have a discussion, and yeah, hopefully see you guys on the 28th. Peace, my dudes.